every day to cover my tax cut and pay for our soldiers. Let me ask you something, wherever you live in Iowa, when's the last time you put the muscle on your banker? I mean, really, when's the last time you tried to push your banker around? You've got to get a farm loan every year, or you want to expand your small business. This is not rocket science, folks. These are decisions that were made. And people don't connect the dots, but they know deep down inside there is something wrong. The other day I was in Pennsylvania campaigning for one of our candidates for Congress who served me on the National Security Council and retired from the Navy as a 3-star admiral, having commanded an aircraft carrier battle group. And he got up in his rally and he said, "Mr. President, tell us what happened. How do we get in this fix?" So briefly, this is what happened. And I'm going to say something that's heresy at a Democratic dinner. You cannot blame the entire Republican Party for this reason. The entire government of the United States, the Congress, the White House, and increasingly the courts for the last 6 years has been in the total control, not of the Republican Party, but of the most ideological, the most right-wing, the most extreme sliver of the Republican Party. As kids say, this is not your granddad's Republican Party. These are not the people that believed in a balanced budget and believed things ought to be handled first at the local level and only at the national level if the local level couldn't be done. They'd like to sit down and argue with the Democrats and go over the evidence and try to reach a common sense conclusion and how to balance. That's not who these folks are. They have 3 primary priorities. Number 1 is the concentration of wealth. In 2005, the incomes of the top 1% of Americans increased 12.5%. The incomes of the bottom 99% increased 1.5%, which means the bottom half declined. So they have succeeded in that. Now, in 2006, and you can ask Tom Harkin and Leonard Boswell if you doubt this, when Democrats tried to get more done on Homeland Security, we were told we can't afford it, we got a big deficit. When we tried to restore cuts in college loans, we were told we can't afford it, we've got a big deficit. When we tried to give a bonus to the Iraq soldiers, we were told we can't afford to give those soldiers a bonus even though they were overstretched. When they raised the cost of veterans' health care, they said we got to do it, we've got a big deficit. What was their number 1 priority? It's getting rid of the estate tax to help 8,000 families. Now look, I come from a farming state, and I know every farmer dreads having his farm tax that he wants to give to his kids, but the truth is that less than 1% of the American people are subject to the estate tax today. We raised the ceiling on the estate tax when I was president. Every Democrat supported it. Nobody wants it to be confiscatory. That's not what's going on. 8,000 people, they wanted to give, let me tell you how much, $250 billion over 10 years, $25 billion a year, several times the amount it would take to give the soldiers a bonus, restore the college aid cuts, implement the 9/11 recommendations, several times. They're interested in the concentration of wealth. That's their goal. And let me tell you, every time I say this, they say, there he goes playing class warfare. That's not true. Listen to what your Middle Western neighbor Warren Buffett said. Warren Buffett said, the Republicans brought class warfare to America, and my class won. This is not about class warfare. Look, I've been rich and I've been poor. I like being rich better. But nobody makes me live in America, and I think I ought to pay my fair share. And I resent the fact I don't need another house, I don't need another vacation, I've got 2 college roommates that had a combined 3 kids that did a combined 6 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. And thank God they were not killed. My daughter's best male friend growing up likes to say he's the only liberal democratic Jewish captain in the Marine Corps. He won the Bronze Star for valor in Iraq. I resent the fact that I was not given a chance to support those kids who put their lives on the line for this country. I resented it. It was wrong. And by the way, if you look at the numbers, you'll see more millionaires and billionaires were created when I was president than when they were. The only difference is the middle class was growing too, and poverty was going down. This is not an anti-rich thing. This is about what America's about. America was made great by the middle class. And as long as we got a strong middle class and people can work their way out of poverty, there'll be plenty of opportunities for people to make all the money in the wide world. Right, so that's their first priority. Their second priority is unlimited and unaccountable executive power in Washington. Now, let me remind you of something. Any serious student of American history will tell you that the primary motivation of the Founding Fathers to break away from England, to have a written Constitution, to have a Bill of Rights, was to prevent unlimited, unaccountable power which would inevitably be abused. And yet, this national intelligence estimate that came out saying that our current policy in Iraq had made more terrorists than it had killed or jailed, they tried to keep that secret. They tried to keep their energy machinations secret. They tried to gag the guy that wanted to tell the truth about what the drug bill had cost. And I can't even remember all the things they've done. You ask Tom or Leonard, they'll tell you there's never been a more secretive, unaccountable administration. And if you seek to hold them accountable, they act like you really don't care about fighting the war on terror. And I could give you lots and lots of other examples. The third thing they care about is using ideology to paint themselves as pure and the rest of us who don't agree with them as stained, less perfect human beings. Not for the purpose of elevating the moral fiber of America, but for the purpose of dividing America through the heart so they can stay in power. That's why they do it, and you know it. So, here's the problem. It wouldn't be good at any time to have a country ruled by somebody who was primarily devoted to concentrated wealth, abusive, unaccountable power, and divisive ideology. That's not very good any time. But it is spectacularly unsuited for a time that requires us to think, because we have novel challenges that don't have ideological answers and that require change. What do you get instead? If all you care about is concentrating wealth and power and being as ideological as possible, you get the following things. You get more inequality. You get an unlimited devotion to the status quo for the same reason that Willie Sutton robbed banks. That's where the money is. You get a profoundly divided country and abuse of power in government, and you get real bad policies. So that's how we got where we are. But what now? And I say this as somebody, you know, I'm not running for anything, but I believe this. This election imposes enormous responsibilities on us. You know, 5 will get you 10. Half the stories about this event tomorrow will be something about 2008. Forget about it. Just for 3.5 weeks, forget about it. And I'll tell you why. The Democratic Party has become both the progressive and the conservative party of America. That's what's going on. That's why we're doing well. People are sick of this partisanship. They're sick of the gridlock. They're sick of the selfishness. They're sick of the abuse. They're sick of nothing going on.